What's up, everybody? We are back again tonight with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Coleman himself. Um, we went over the first one of his Google Trends videos last night, and think that went pretty well. And so, back by popular demand, we're going to go through his second one. I think he's got. I went back and looked. I think he's got 5 of them. So y'all just let me know if y'all start getting tired of it before we make it to the end. But there's some really good stuff in there, and Barron has covered so much since he started, and I feel like it's a good thing to go back and revisit these things. He's been talking a lot lately about going back to the beginning and looking to see see if there's things that we've missed, and just go back over everything with a fine tooth comb. So I feel like these right here, these are what put him on the map. Obviously the information's great, and it was a big hit with folks. So you know what? We're going to bring them back and make sure they're fresh in everybody's mind. So without further ado, let me roll that beautiful bean footage. I'm gonna make myself a little bigger tonight. If y'all get tired of seeing me so big, let me know, and I'll make myself real little again, okay? But this will keep. I always forget to switch back whenever I'm going on a rant. I always forget to go back and bring myself up. So I figure this right here will help. I won't have to worry about that. So yeah, Brett, I've heard people complaining about that's crazy. I don't know. For some reason, whenever my lives, whenever I finish them, obviously the comments are on, and I'll go back and check it right after the live finishes. But then I'll go back the next day, and people will be complaining because the comments are off, and they'll be off, and I'll have to go back and turn them on. So I don't know. It is it's crazy. I don't understand exactly why that happens. Oh, I got to make one little adjustment here, guys. Sorry. Okay, and got to keep things the same as usual, you know? There. How's that? How is my sound, guys? I feel like I'm a little bit quiet. What do y'all think? Y'all let me know what y'all think. I think I might need to bump up the sound just a tad, but I don't want to blow anybody's eardrums out. So, hey, hey, Lissette. Hey, Susan. Glad to see y'all in here. I love to see the regulars in here. Y'all make it worthwhile. And just let me know about that sound. Tell you what, one, if I need to leave it alone, two, if I need to change it or bump it up a little bit, okay? Sounds good? All right. I just want to make sure. I might have my headphones down just a little bit, so good. Well, I'm glad you enjoy it, Miss Susan. Yeah, it's I don't, of course I don't notice it because it's mine until I go back and listen to myself, and wow, sometimes, yeah, it's sometimes it is thick. All right, let me get Mr. Barron going. We got to get started if we're going to get through it. So well, that's good to know, Lissette. I always wonder about that. So I guess y'all are in the right chat then. All right, here we go. Fire in the hole.
Hey, I don't know how to open this today.
And I apologize. That is most definitely his technical difficulties, not mine. I don't know if y'all remember, but way back in the day before he got his setup all tweaked out, yeah, he had a lot of internet issues and stuff. So anyway, I apologize, but we can hear him just fine. So that's all that really matters.
Hey, I'm at a little different angle today because my eyes are getting old and I needed the screen a little closer because I have a bunch of stuff to read tonight. And so my lighting's all screwed up, my monitor's all screwed up because I didn't want to change it until the last second because I was the way I was reading before. But I didn't want to wear my readers. I don't think you can see the lights in the background and everything. But I think I want to open this way. I want you to imagine I want you to imagine that I have uncovered some disturbing information about Canada. I want you to imagine I've uncovered disturbing information about Canada, and I went to some trusted friends and resources and family, and I said, hey, guys, you'll never understand this. You'll never accept it. You'll never get it. But I have uncovered some really bad stuff, potentially about Canada.
And so I guess we all know already which direction this show's going. We know that what he means by Canada is Philadelphia or our greatest ally. So just want to make that clear right off the bat. And the rest of it's pretty spot on.
What they've been searching for up in Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver. And I want you to think that, hey, these searches are pretty wild, frankly.
Hey, where's Miss Rainin? I just noticed she's not in the chat. What the hell?
Now, we don't know if they're true. We don't know if they're accurate, but we know that they purportedly come from Canada. Do you think anyone I know or talk to would say, Baron, you really need to be careful talking bad about Canada? If you say something and somebody could derive that you're saying Canada did something wrong, your life would be in danger. Or let's put it in the realm of the current rumors going on with Charlie Kirk. Let's put it in the realm of the current rumors going on with Charlie Kirk. If Charlie Kirk had some Canadian benefactors or some benefactors who were very favorable to the big maple syrup people, they love maple syrup. They can't get enough maple syrup. They like Labatt's Blue, hockey, maple syrup, and they've hunted moose. And these are big donors to Charlie Kirk. And they come to him and say, but Charlie, we'd like to donate a lot more money to you. And Charlie says, I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed with the way you guys handled the trucker dispute a few years ago. Do you think there's anybody who would say, Charlie, your life might be in danger? You've upset some Leafs. You've upset some Canadians. Is it thunder? Or are we being bombed? If you can hear the thunder, I apologize. It's coming through my ears, though, so I'm assuming you can hear it. The reason I raise the issue is because I've stumbled across some things I want to share, at least in part with the audience.
And of course, he wants everybody to know that he is definitely, in fact, not suicidal. And I, of course, also will state that I don't think I've necessarily got that to worry about, but we're all happy and we're enjoying life. So, but the picture he's trying to paint here is, just about any other country in the world, if if issues were uncovered and people started digging into them, and of course there have been many other countries that people have dug into for whatever reason, be it corruption or just whatever. But it's very rare that you hear somebody really truly fear for their life because of that. And so it's a really sad fact, and it just goes to show how much they are not truly our greatest ally. And of course, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again right now. Technically, they are not our ally anyway. They call themselves our ally, but there are no kind of like mutual defense agreements. There's nothing. There's no kind of treaties. Absolutely nothing. They don't. They haven't pledged anything to us. Basically, we pledged everything to them. And at the end of the day, we fought for 20 years over there in the Middle East, and that I know of, there never was a single Philadelphian pair of boots on the ground there. It was us. It was Canada, Australia, the UK. There were people from everywhere, but from Philadelphia. So, yeah, it's a sad fact. It really is. It's a all give on our part and all take on theirs. There's no kind of mutual. It's not a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's just one way. It's just straight up gimmies. It's kind of like some of those marriages where anyway. Yeah, I could go on about this forever. Yeah, it's definitely not a fair. It's definitely not a fair relationship, and there's definitely, in my opinion, allegedly not our greatest ally. So, just gonna say that.
And in doing so,
Hey, there she is, Raining in the house. Hey, Miss Raining, I just asked about you a minute ago. Good to see you in the chat.
in preparing to share it, I've talked to a number of people, and the information I've come across, I've gotten the same reaction from every single person I've talked to.
I swear, I hate that man. I'm not talking about Trump at this very moment, but the other one, Bibi. That's the devil incarnate.
Excuse me. Every single person I've talked to has had the same response. If you share this information, your life could be in danger. If you share this information that you've discovered, your life potentially could be in danger. And when someone tells you that, especially someone you trust, when someone tells you that, you pause. And you think, is that true? Is there some information, and I don't even think this is that bad. I mean, it's shocking.
And sadly, it is true. Very, very true.
It shocked me when I came across it, but is there some information that's so bad that your life would be in danger from an ally of the United States?
Ally with air quotes.
Think about it. Go back to the Canadian example. Let's put myself in these same shoes, and I call people and I say, hey, I've got some information and it pertains to Canada. They might look bad. I can't say it's definitive. I don't know the truth, but I don't know what to do with it, and I'd like to share it with an audience. Do you think anybody would say, you know, Barron, if you cross those Canucks, your life could be in danger? No, I don't think so. Do I think Canada's ever?
Yes, Miss Raining, it was. It was a really, really good show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. She did not hold back.
Been credibly accused of assassinating anybody? I don't know. They seem like pretty friendly people. And in terms of allies, it's hard to find a better one. Apart from that silly skirmish back in 1812 when they invaded the United States and burnt down the White House, they've been fairly okay in the last 150, 180 years or so, maybe 200 years. We had to put them in their place. There was the whole 54-40 fight thing where we thought about taking a big chunk of their country away from them, but hey, other than that, they've been okay. So I want to open with that, and then I want to move here for a second. Because for years, we've been told there are Iranian hit squads running free in America.
Yeah.
We've not been told much about them, only that they exist. We've been told there are multiple hit squads. But what we've not been told is how
they're hit squads. And in fact, their country of origin also starts with an I, but it is an Iranian. And I think that, that we were told that it was the Iranians that tried to take out Trump. And I don't believe that for a minute either. I believe that this is just my honest opinion, and it's allegedly, but I believe that it was our greatest ally. And one of the proofs to me was the fact that Mr. Bibi came to the White House and presented him with that beautiful golden pager, for him to put out on display for the world to see. I don't think that was any kind of actual trophy or anything like that. I think to me that was a daily reminder. I think that was his message to Trump that, you know what, you fall in line or we will get to you one way or the other. We've already clipped your ear, and you best just fall in line.
How those in charge knew these hit squads existed, or frankly, why they've not been arrested and charged with serious crimes. Because surely if the people in charge know they exist, they know where they are. That's the nature of existing. You have to be somewhere to exist. And it should follow, if your existence is known to those in charge of the United States, then your location should be known as well. These were referenced very recently, these Iranian hit squads, by the prime minister of Israel, who said that Iran had tried to assassinate the president of the United States.
Of course he did.
I'm assuming he's talking about these Iranian hit squads that are apparently running free in America. And we're told they've been here for years. These same Iranian hit squads were speculated to be involved in the assassination attempt of President Trump back in Butler, Pennsylvania in July of 2024.
Yeah, right.
And if they exist, I would think they would be communicating with their leaders back home. That only makes sense. You wouldn't train and release hit squads in another country and then leave them to their own devices, operating on some kind of rogue basis to decide who to assassinate and when and how. I think this is especially true if you're operating in a foreign country for years at a time. You wouldn't do that. No country would do that. You'd communicate with your hit squads. And for the record, I don't believe there are Iranian hit squads running free in America.
No.
I don't even believe there's a single Iranian hit squad running free in America.
No.
But those in power tell us they do exist and that they want to assassinate American political figures up to and including the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Nope.
So I decided to indulge in the fantasy that there are, in fact, Iranian hit squads running free in America. I look for evidence of those hit squads using the same Google Trends searches that I referenced last week on this platform. And my reasoning was that any Iranian hit squad in the United States would be led by a team back home, and that team might be using Google to search targets, accomplices, locations, and more. But my search results came back empty. I could find no evidence. Granted, it was a limited search, but no evidence Iranian hit squad leaders in Iran were using Google to do recon on pending targets. And you might think to yourself, well, that's crazy. Why would they use Google? We'll get back to that. Does this conclusively prove there are no Iranian hit squads running free in America? No. But amidst the fury of the conspiracy theories, we'll call them, into the recent events involving Charlie Kirk, I decided to expand my search to countries in the area, other countries near Iran. Did any of those countries have Google searches within their borders in the days, weeks, and months leading up to September 10th, before Charlie Kirk was tragically taken from us?
Nope. Hell no.
And the answer was yes. They did. And the results were, to put it bluntly, striking. I'll go through a portion of what I found, a very small portion. I spent a lot more time than I should have doing this. There's a lot more found that I won't cover, at least not tonight. A lot more. But what I'll cover will give you a taste.
In other words, he ran across some scary, scary shit
of what I found. This is probably as good a place as any to add that this is all allegedly. I draw no conclusions from what I'll discuss tonight, other than that these records do exist. They're real records. They're real searches. I didn't make them up. I couldn't have made them up. I couldn't, because on the dates that they show up in the search records, I'd never heard of these people.
And we ain't suicidal.
Heard of the names, the places, any of it. The only thing I can say for certain is that someone performed these searches on the dates shown in these records. Who it was, why they were searching, maybe even where the search was performed. That's all uncertain. You can draw whatever conclusions you want. I've drawn my own conclusions, or at least I have sneaking suspicions based on what I found. But in the end, I can't say for certain what happened or who's responsible. Not to any reasonable degree of certainty, certainly not beyond reasonable doubt.
I'm sorry, Miss Susan. Yeah, you might want to go get you one of these for, times like that. Hey, you might get to liking it better. That's what I did. I was doing 2-3 packs of Marlboros a day, and finally, when I got ready to quit, I got on one of these and ain't looked back. It was a little bit rocky at first, but after the first few weeks, month, it was all downhill from there. I'm glad I did it.
But I'll add this before we get into it. The existence of these records, the fact that these records do in fact exist, should cause people in power, high power here inside the United States, people with subpoena power, it should cause them to look into these things.
Problem is, they probably already know. As a matter of fact, I see very, very, very little chance at all that they don't know. That's the problem, is all of our people in quote unquote power, 90% of them have a dual loyalty. And at the end of the day, when it comes down to one or the other, we're the other every single time. And so that is just a sad fact.
To search deeper, maybe to try to find answers.
I'm sorry, I got to say this. I'm a firm believer, and, this is not just a super rare, position to take, but I am a firm believer that if you have a dual citizenship, you are not in any kind of position of authority here in the United States. That is just, to me, that's a no-brainer. If you have a dual citizenship, that means that you are not 100% devoted to America, and there's a good chance you're not even 50% devoted to America. So that being said, to me, that should be an automatic disqualification. Hands down, hell no. Not no, but hell no.
Well, we don't know, but it should. So with that, I just realized something. Let me check something real fast. Someone just texted me and said the feed is terrible. I don't want to go through all this.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
When's the last time I spoke with Terry Adams? It's been a long time.
I'm going to try to get past
I hope he's doing well. If these searches held true for other items, let me just recall for those that weren't here last week. Last week, hear and see the feed is poor. Audio and video are fine. I can't tell if this is a me problem or a they.
Did you hear him last week? I don't know if y'all remember that far back, but remember back in the day when Barron first come on the scene, we had to wait a whole nother damn week after he did one of these episodes. My, how times have changed.
Problem. Let me switch something here real fast. Okay, you may have lost me for a second. Someone signal when I'm back, and I will go. And I will not stop again because I think I just switched to a better feed. I have several feeds in my house. Audio and video are fine.
I don't know who the hell's telling him it's fine.
You guys remember last week. The video feed screwed up. Now, I want to take you back in time. If you did not, again, what I said earlier, if you did not see last week's show, it's a primer for this week, and you will not be able to follow along.
Feed's still shit. That's all right. Just focused on me.
This week, unless you know what I was doing last week. In short, I went to Google Trends. I showed you how it works, and I went and I searched for names, locations, places that surrounded the Charlie Kirk assassination, and I looked in the District of Columbia to see, was it ever searched there before it became news? And we found, yeah, several of these items actually were. I want to take you back to December of 2020. Does anybody remember what was happening in December of 2020? I remember what was happening in December of 2020.
All kinds of shit.
Donald Trump lost an election and began protesting it. Do you remember this? Lost an election and began protesting it. And there was the whole Stop the Steal movement, and there were all these rallies, and they were all over the country, and then there was the January 6th that eventually happened. In the middle of that, in December, you will recall, there was a bombing in Nashville, Tennessee. Do you remember the Nashville, Tennessee bombing? It was a
right. I do remember that. Yep.
Crazy loner who lived in Antioch.
And especially as of late recently, I mean, he has done a lot of upgrading and has come a long way with it. At first, he had more video issues than audio issues, but he did have a lot of internet issues to start with. But yeah, as of late, especially, yeah. And you know, it's crazy. Trolls are bad for that. They always want to go for the sound.
Who drove a gigantic RV.
Ridiculous.
And he allegedly.
That's why I ask y'all guys, if y'all say it's good, we roll on. If y'all say it's bad, like a few shows back, we deal with it.
All this is allegedly parked it on 2nd Avenue downtown. Just so happened to be next to an AT&T building. Convenient. Exploded the RV. Knocked AT&T off for days. All over the country. All over the eastern half of the country. They were off for a long time.
It wasn't far from my house. Hour and a half.
I want to show you something.
Let's see it, Barron. Let's see it. Come on.
That guy's name was Anthony Quinn Warner.
Suspense is killing me.
Anthony Quinn Warner. This is important. You're going to follow along with me for a second. And I'm going to bring this back to Charlie Kirk, but I want to do it in a way that shows you how this works. So this guy's name was Anthony Quinn Warner. You remember him? Anthony Quinn Warner. I'm doing this in real time so you guys can follow along. In the past day, United States, not much searching for Anthony Quinn Warner. What about the last 90 days? Nope. What about the last 5 years? Oh, there it is. That's the bombing. You guys recognize that, right? That's why there's a giant spike right there.
Bleep.
Well, I looked and I thought, this Anthony Quinn Warner stuff, it always seemed weird to me. The whole thing seemed weird. So what would happen? Well, I lost it. There it is. What would happen if I picked a custom date range? Let's do a 5-year range like, oh, hold on. I can't do that first. I got to do this one first. Let's do a 5-year range. 8/15/2019 to 8/15/2024. A 5-year range right there. You still see that solitary spike, right?
What is it, Brett? Is it the twitching and the rocking and the moving back and forth? Is he making you feel a little seasick?
That's all that's there. Well, what if I do it inside? Gosh, I got too many screens going. I'm getting lost. You can see I'm doing this live. This is not pre-rehearsed here. What if I did this? Here we go. Inside the District of Columbia. There's the spike. Boop. See that, right? Now, what if I drill down a little bit and I end up with a very specific search window? Watch what happens here. I share my screen. I go back to Anthony Quinn Warner. I pop up the District of Columbia. I've got this very specific search window that covers this period here from August of 2019 before the bombing. This right here, this giant spike here is the bombing, December of 2020. What is that? That's weird. Why is there a spike for Anthony Quinn Warner inside the District of Columbia 5 months before the bomb goes off? And I just thought, okay, we'll just accept it. Accept it for what it is. You know, you can't say everything is a conspiracy, Barron. Do you guys remember the El Paso, Texas shooting? You remember the El Paso, Texas shooting? A guy named Patrick Crucius. He shot up a Walmart in El Paso, Texas, killed dozens of people. I think like 23 people died. I did the same thing with him. You'll see here, that was the week of the shooting, August 2019. Then I look back here and I think, why is somebody in Washington, D.C. searching Patrick Crucius 2 years before the shooting and again in the beginning of that year? Now, it's possible these people are showing up on the FBI radar or they're showing up on some kind of law enforcement radar and they're looking into them. It's possible there's multiple people named Patrick Crucius and they're just getting caught up in another search in the District of Columbia for no reason. That's possible. Do you remember the guy who shot up the Colorado supermarket? This was Boulder, Colorado, 2021, March 2021. It's a King Soopers supermarket in Boulder, Colorado. 10 people killed, including a local on-duty police officer. His name was Ahmad Aliwi Alisa. That's the date of the shooting right there. Now, you have a harder time convincing me there are other people named Ahmad Aliwi Alisa that are of interest to people in Washington, D.C. the year before they shoot up a supermarket.
Right. That can't be a very common name to be searched.
You have a harder time. This was an AR-15 style shooting. Walks in, starts mowing people down in a supermarket. Again, could have popped up on the FBI radar, but at a certain point, does every mass shooting pop up on the FBI radar before the shooting?
Seems like it.
You guys remember Peyton Gendron? You guys may not remember old Peyton Gendron. Peyton Gendron shot up a Tops supermarket in Buffalo, 2022. This was part of the Black Lives Matter movement, if you recall. Remember, he was an 18-year-old, and he drove past a zillion other supermarkets to go to this Tops supermarket in Buffalo.
Every single time after the fact, they come out and the FBI says, well, he was on our radar, but for some reason, they never get stopped.
Buffalo, New York. 2:30 in the afternoon, he walks into this predominantly black neighborhood armed with a Bushmaster-style AR-15. And this was the date of the shooting right here. May of 2022. May of 2022. This was the week of the shooting. So you would naturally expect there to be a giant spike right there.
Yeah, he said you couldn't, Brett. He said you couldn't repeat it. It wasn't replicable or whatever, repeatable. Like you don't ever get the same answer twice. But that is absolute bullshit. Like you know, the way Barron does it is he's very meticulous and very detailed, and you have to be detailed like that, and you have to do it a certain way. Yeah, I mean, if you just throw some names in there, you're not going to get good results. But they literally, big corporations use this to search for, trends for advertising and things like that. And I know I said it last night on the show, but the Nancy Guthrie case, Savannah Guthrie's mom that got kidnapped, whatever's going on there. Anyway, it even said there that law enforcement used the Google trend search and found that there were people that were searching her address right before this happened. So law enforcement uses it also. So to me, that's enough proof that it is
in Washington, D.C. Really, all
it's worth taking a look at and considering.
Over the country, you'll find that. But why here? And here? And here? In Washington, D.C. And I can assure you, I did not check every single city in the country. I didn't check every state in the country, but I checked a lot. I checked a lot of them. There are no searches for Peyton Gendron. Any of these other places I looked, New York, California, Texas, Pennsylvania, there are no searches for this guy anywhere else, except for the District of Columbia and in some cases Huntsville, Alabama, which, as we know, as we discussed last week, is a second headquarters for the FBI. Now, again, I draw no conclusions from this. I'm just presenting the evidence. Somebody inside the District of Columbia or with an IP address from the District of Columbia ran these searches. That's how Google Trends works. It tracks the searches. And they ran it on the week of August 15th, and they ran it again the week of September 12th, but they had previously run it the week of October 2020. And the shooting, as you know, took place in May of 2022. So was he being tracked? That's an option. Was it a total coincidence? I guess it's an option, but is every mass shooter coincidentally searched in Washington, D.C. 6 months, a year or more before they do a mass shooting? Is that normal? Is that something?
Searched. Most likely, yes. Coincidentally searched? No, I don't believe in coincidences.
Something that happens? Because if that's something that happens, that's really weird. Is this another incident?
Yes, Miss Ranning, I agree. But, and as bad as I hate to say it, not just including the FBI, but I mean, most above all the FBI.
Oh, he was on our radar. We knew him. We had checked him out. Okay. Why didn't you stop it? He came on your radar 3
Exactly.
different times. Apparently, somebody's radar. I'm not saying this was an FBI search or a CIA search or any alphabet letter search, but somebody inside the District of Columbia took a keen interest in this guy on 3 different occasions before he shot up a supermarket. And I will remind you, October 2020 is about when the Black Lives Matter was peaking. It was the summer of 2020, and you know it was 2020 because that was the midst of COVID. That was the presidential election. Everybody was locked down. And this guy was being searched in Washington, D.C. So I look at all these and I think, I got hits all over the Charlie Kirk thing for Losi Center, for Lance Twiggs, for Tyler James Robinson, the shooter, for the plane that allegedly went dark that night, for the owner of the plane. I got all these hits in Washington, D.C. on before the Charlie Kirk assassination. I guess it could all be a coincidence. That's an option. Somebody in Washington, D.C. is a very
no coincidences.
prolific searcher. That's an option. But I mean, we could speculate out loud other options. These guys show up on the radar and are cultivated into shooters. That's an option. That is just as big an option as it's all a coincidence. But that's option. We'll call that option B. Option C is, yeah, they showed up on the radar and people were searching them because they said crazy stuff online or whatever, and they wanted to know who they were. Also an option. All of these things are options. I even thought of a fourth option. Somebody is using a VPN inside of DC. I don't know if there's a VPN that launches from inside of DC, but let's just say there is. That would be an option. I mean, is every shooting subject to these weirdnesses? Yeah, I mean, I had Grok pull up a list of every mass shooting in America going back to 2012 or something, 2010 maybe. And I looked it up. Let me tell you, I'm giving you 4 of them. It's not just 4. It's a lot of them. Probably half or more. Famous school shootings, mass shootings, Stephen Paddock in Las Vegas. And at a certain point, you just have to wonder, could this be a coincidence? Now, let me tie it back to Charlie Kirk, because that's the news of the day. I don't know if you watched his, I don't want to call it a funeral, memorial service today. It was
God, cringe.
8 hours long.
Yeah, we went through that the other night. It's terrible.
Looked to have 100,000 people in there. It's a big stadium. It was full. Had people all over the floor. It was a big operation. It was a big deal. And I thought metaphorically, they're putting the story to bed. They're burying not Kirk, they're burying the story. We've been given an official story, and you better accept it. Just like we were given an official story with the Las Vegas shooting, and everybody stopped investigating it. It's the biggest mass shooting in American history.
And no answers. They got their one lone gunman, their lone wolf. That's it. Nothing to see here.
Certainly in our lifetimes. Dozens of people were killed. Hundreds, literally hundreds shot, like almost 500 people were shot. And we're told it was a guy who played video poker for a living. That's who did it. A guy who played video poker for a living did it. And we don't know why. He left no note. He shot up a bunch of people, shot himself, and then laid there dead for a long time until the officers finally responded to his room. When they responded to his room, there was no broken glass in his room. The glass was broken hours later. That can be proven. But we're told he did it. We're told he did it with bump stocks, even though every military professional who has listened to that video says that ain't a bump stock. I know precisely what the gun that is.
Nope.
He had dozens of guns laying around the room, but he only used a couple allegedly. And then didn't touch any of the rest of them, and then shot himself before the melee was over. And if you don't accept the story, you're a conspiracy theorist, and you have to shut up. If you don't accept the story, you're a conspiracy theorist, and you have to shut up. Your government has spoken. Your government has spoken. You have to be done. You cannot continue asking questions about it. That story's over.
Yes, it was most definitely a shit show, Miss Susan.
With all that in mind, I want to show you a couple of more searches I ran. I'm not going to show you every search I ran, but I want to show you a couple of searches I ran.
Come on, let's see it.
And this is why I opened with Canada. Because if I had run these searches that I ran, that I'm going to share with you in a moment, and they came back to Canada, and I told people, you'll never believe this, but there were searches in Canada in the days leading up to the Charlie Kirk assassination. And I'm thinking of going on a podcast and showing it to people.
Whoop-de freaking do. That's exactly what would have been said.
Most people would say, okay, that's weird. They're probably not going to want to send you any free cases of maple syrup for this, but your life is not in danger. I can assure you that. If I know anything certain, it's that searches originating in Canada in the days leading up to the Charlie Kirk assassination that seems strangely particular to the Charlie Kirk assassination. I don't know anyone who would say Your life is in danger. I want to show you the first search I ran. That's not true. I want to show you a search I ran. This search shows a hit date of September 7th, 2025. This is 3 days before the Charlie Kirk assassination. It's a weird series of numbers and letters up here. It's W925SST. And it has quotes around it, so you know it was searched as a particular term. It's not just random letters and numbers within a larger search. This is the search that was run. You could read this as West 925 South Street. And the reason I searched West 925 South Street is that's the street where the gun was recovered. Because I started thinking counterfactually. Let's assume, for the sake of argument, Tyler James Robinson was not the shooter, but he was a gun drop. He dropped the gun that someone else may be using, or for whatever reason he was told, drop a gun at a certain place at a certain time. I want you to leave it in a backyard off of West 925 South Street. I have a feeling that's going to be his defense. Hard for him to argue he wasn't there. His fingerprints are on the gun is there, and he's in the area. And he was seen on camera on campus. It's hard to argue he wasn't there. Whether he pulled the trigger, I'm not speculating right now. I'm just speculating on the location of the gun. And we know the gun was found in a backyard off of West 925 South Street. So I look up West 925 South Street. I look for the past 90 days, and I limit my search to Israel because of all the speculation that there might be an Israeli connection. I'm assured by everyone in power it's not possible, including the Prime Minister of Israel. I'm assured they had nothing to do with it, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And so all I'm doing is presenting the facts. I'm not drawing a conclusion. I'm not.
Matter of fact, the Prime Minister come out not too long after the whole thing happened just to tell everybody, hey, we didn't do it. That's not suspicious at all.
Suggesting they were involved. I give the same 4 possibilities for this search that I gave for the other searches I gave in Washington, D.C. 1, maybe someone there happened to be searching West 925 South Street.
Just maybe.
That's possible. Maybe somebody routed a VPN through there. Maybe he popped up on the radar and it told people I'm going to dump the gun there, and somebody thought, where is that? We need to Google it. I don't know. But I'm telling you, the nation of Israel, the state of Israel, right here on September 7th, 3 days before the assassination, has a hit. A Google search was made with an IP address originating in Israel for West 925 South Street. Had I called someone and told them I found that address with a Canadian IP address, no one would have said anything. I said, that's weird. Go with it. See what people think. See if other people can come up with something right.
So
as soon as I said it was Israel, they said, ooh, your life would be in danger.
Easy.
What?
Hold up. Let's think this through.
Hey, it's supposed to be our greatest ally. I'm told constantly it's our greatest ally. Mike Huckabee told me the other day, the foundation of morality.
Oh, God. Speaking of Mike Huckabee, my God. Well, yeah.
Is the state of Israel.
He makes me want to puke.
Why would my life be in danger for showing you, for just opening up Google Trends and showing you the date of the tenant? I want to get more specific. Because the gun actually was found in the yard at 983 West 925 South Street. So after I found the West 925 South Street, I actually looked up the specific address to eliminate all the other potential 925 South Street, West 925 South Streets in the world. I don't know if there are others. But if there are others, I wanted to eliminate that possibility by adding 683 to it. So I do the same search. I start in the District of Columbia with 683, West 925 South Street. And I get a hit out of Washington, D.C. right there in July of 2025. In July of 2025. 2 months before the Charlie Kirk assassination. Almost 2 months to the day. And I got to say, that's a little weird.
All right. So according to Brian Harpole, best I remember, he said planning in earnest started around the 24th of August. But he said that was planning in earnest and that they had a whole lot of other stuff that they had been doing for longer than that. So, they got to start getting their ducks in a row and get all the little things sorted out. And then on the 24th of August is when he said that things really, got kicked off. I guess that's probably where they went and saw it in person and all that stuff. My point being, this timeline, this would be around probably when they first started planning for this event.
That's a little weird. The address where the gun was recovered, 683 West 925 South Street, and I encourage you, and I demand it, frankly, Nobody has any contact with the people who live at 683 West 925 South Street. I've looked them up. They seem like a decent couple, decent family. I doubt they had anything to do with this whatsoever. But for whatever reason, somebody inside the District of Columbia or an IP address originating in the District of Columbia in the United States was searching 683 W925 SST 2 months before the Charlie Kirk assassination. I raise this for a particular reason. In the alleged confession that Tyler James Robinson drafted to his roommate, Lance Twiggs, there was a weird line in there. A weird line.
There was way more than one weird line in there, but I guess he's referring to one in particular.
Tyler James Robinson confesses he is the guy who pulled this off. He alone is the guy who pulled this off. And the roommate, for whatever reason, asked, how long have you been planning this? I thought it was a weird question.
Yes, absolutely. Miss Susan, thank you. Y'all make sure y'all do that, please.
Not the question I would ask if somebody contacted me and confessed to murder. A high-profile political assassination. I wouldn't say, well, how long have you been planning this? But that was the question that was supposedly asked.
And hey, you know what? If y'all can all just talk to one friend and tell them to look me up and hit the subscribe button too, that would be awesome.
In the text, the very conveniently drafted.
I appreciate y'all being in there though. Y'all regulars just really make it worthwhile.
After text. And he said, about a week. Not a week, not 9 days. Not, well, I first thought of it Thursday when I heard of it. About a week. I thought, why is that detail in there? Let's think counterfactually. Let's assume this is a cover and the texts aren't real. What would you want to establish? You would want to establish that anything that took place before a week ago had nothing to do with this, including a search originating in Washington, D.C., or an IP address from Washington, D.C. that searched the exact address where the gun was found 2 months ago. You would definitely not want that to be connected. You would definitely want to put something in the text exchange. If it's fake, you would want to put something in there that eliminates that possibility. I ask you because maybe I haven't thought of everything. Could there be another explanation for the address where the gun was found being searched on Google 2 months before the assassination attempt or the successful assassination? I can't think of another one. I really can't. And I racked my brain. It's so specific of a fact. It's such a striking search that my brain cannot process that this was coincidental. It is so shockingly specific. The address where the gun was recovered, the backyard where the gun was recovered, was searched 2 months before. Let's say it was an IP address. Who the hell is using an IP routed through DC to search this address 2 months ago? And why? Could be a dinner party.
A dinner party.
I don't know. So I press on. I think, wasn't there a Decatur, Huntsville connection? Because there's an FBI office in Huntsville. That's true. Wasn't there a Huntsville connection to some of these searches? So I looked the Huntsville, Decatur area for West 925 South Street. Again, a very specific address. And there it is. Huntsville, Alabama. Almost 1 month of the day before he is assassinated.
Imagine that.
Maybe a coincidence. Who knows?
Oh, I'm sure.
So I press on. And I continue looking.
Thank you, Lizard. I really, really appreciate that. Y'all are awesome.
Starting to get shaky here. What about the house next door? Because the neighbors where the gun was recovered, I think it was the neighbors where the gun was recovered. And I can't remember the podcaster who said this. And I'd look today to try to find it, but there's.
Yeah, Brad, if you're having to check out, that's cool. But hey, I appreciate you stopping in here, and I look forward to seeing you in here a bunch more. So if this is it for you, buddy, have a good night, and I will see you next time.
So many podcasts on this. I've listened to so many hours of podcasts on this. But some podcast had people interviewing neighbors in the area. And I'm not trying to steal credit. I did not come up with this. This is not original to me. This is someone else said this, and I would love to give them credit, but I could not figure out who it was. I'm not the type of person who will steal someone else's research and pawn it off as my own. This is not my own research, what I'm about to say. Someone podcasted that they had some boots on the ground, and that those boots on the ground talked to the people in the neighborhood, maybe even the people where the rifle was recovered, the 683 West South Street. Let me make sure I have this right. Yeah. Hold, please. I got to add one thing here.
Hold, please.
Well, I'm going to skip that one because it was typed in wrong. Hold on, I got more here. Hold please, I'm looking for something. I've got too many things pulled up here. Here we go.
Listen, you and a whole bunch of others. I'll tell you what, that first little speech she gave that day in Charlie's office or studio there at Turning Point when she was in the white, that was just, to me, it just made my stomach turn and I couldn't look at her the same. And so when I watched that event, when I watched the memorial, I already knew how I was, you know, how I was looking at her and everybody else around her. So I already just, I wasn't, yeah, no sympathy whatsoever. That's right, Miss Susan. And guess what? Yeah, and it sucks, but you pulled through it, and that's awesome. I'm glad to I don't know you personally and all that, but it seems like you've learned to deal with it at least. But I mean, she's never went through that. She's never went through that initial. I mean, she's not going to. My doctor, she's in her 70s and she lost her husband a few months ago, and she was they were married 50 something years, and oh my God, like she didn't know how she was going to go on. And I'm sorry, Erica Kirk has not had those feelings. She's not that strong of a person. It's not a game face when she goes out there. She's not fighting to hold back the tears. Like, she might have some people fooled, but she doesn't have very many people fooled. And she definitely doesn't have me and doesn't have y'all fooled.
So I start thinking, I need to expand my search. And if you guys want me to remind you of one of the searches we ran last week, it was this one right here. The Losey Center. This was the Losey Center. This is the center where the alleged gunman allegedly perched and fired his rifle shot that caused the death of Charlie Kirk. And this is the big giant where they released what the Losey Center was. And obviously everybody ran out to search the Losey Center. And then you go to Washington, D.C. area. And 2 days before that, someone there was searching the Losey Center. So that's an idea of what I'm looking at here. So I go back to this search and I think, could anyone else have searched the Losey Center?
Maybe.
And I remember what I found earlier with respect to Israel having a search relative to this. And you go back and look, and someone inside, or at least with an IP address in Israel, searched the term Losey Center back on July 2nd, 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember,
Yep.
the gun drop address, 683 West 925 South Street, that was searched in Washington, D.C., or with an IP address originating in Washington, D.C. on July 10th or 11th, 2 months before the shooting. Well, this is like 2 months and a week before the shooting.
Listen, they do. People do grieve different, but this is my point with Erica, is she was never grieving. Grief with everybody is a personal thing, and it's different from person to person. But the grief is there, and you can see that grief there. With Erica Kirk, I'm sorry, there was no grief.
And someone with an IP address originating in Israel, 2 months and a week before the shooting, searched Losey Center. And again, if this had been a Canadian search, and I just said, hey, somebody in Canada searched Losey Center.
Okay.
Or somebody in France searched Losey Center. Or somebody in Algeria.
I don't know about that one now. You start talking about French Foreign Legion. but we've got to give him some grace right here. This was back in the day before the Foreign Legion got brought into all this, so we'll give Barron a pass on that.
Nigeria searched Losi Center, or somebody in Australia searched Losi Center. I don't think many people would say probably shouldn't go public with that information.
Hey, dear Diana. So I am actually not too far from Barron. I am in Middle Tennessee, and I appreciate the compliment. I'm glad to see you in the chat.
Probably take that to the grave.
If you haven't subscribed, that's one thing you got to do. I'm gonna pull a Jesse on fire and say, look, watching this show is not free. It just doesn't cost any money. You gotta like and you gotta subscribe. And I really appreciate all the support.
But for some reason, our greatest ally, when somebody with an IP address originating in the political boundary of our greatest ally searches Losi Center, every single person I talked to said, do not go public with that. That's a really bad idea. But I keep searching. Because I think, what about the name Tyler James Robinson?
Not a full Jesse. I just kind of like that. At least, it's kind of funny. Now, me and Jesse do not see eye to eye on most things.
If you're going to have a gun dropped at a certain location, if you're going to have a perch where this guy,
I think he's off his rocker.
Guy was alleged to be perched, surely you would want to know something about the guy, right? This is 3.5 weeks before the shooting.
The
full name, Tyler James Robinson.
Glad you're here, dear Diana.
Not searched any other time, but searched August 18, 2025. 3.5 weeks before the shooting. And now I think, I got to keep searching. I've got to know more. I just have to know more.
Curiosity killed the cat.
I rerun the search on the Losi Center, and I find out within the political boundaries of our greatest ally that it was not just searched.
Our greatest ally, in made big O air quotes.
One time that week. It was searched twice the week of July 7th and 9th, and again on July 29th, Losi Center. Now,
a lot going on there first week of July, I don't know if y'all noticed that, but yes, there was a lot going on that first week of July.
Maybe somebody there has a kid going to Utah Valley University, and they want to know more about the Losi Student Center. It strikes me, I've done a little research. I think it's something like a student union. A lot of places have one of these. Like at Auburn University, they're the Foy Union. That was like the student center. You showed up, they had places to relax, do your homework, couches, chairs. Indiana, when I was there, had a student center, had a bowling alley in it. Pretty dope, really. Beautiful. Big limestone building, massive. And that's kind of what the Losi Center is to Utah Valley University. And so I thought, again, I want to think of all possibilities. Maybe somebody from Jerusalem or Tel Aviv or one of the other cities there has a kid who's studying abroad, and they're heading to Utah Valley.
Just happens to be at UVU
University.
Happens to be the first week of July, just right before that terrible day.
And they want to know more about the Losi Center. But it doesn't change the fact that this was the name of the building where the alleged shooter allegedly perched and allegedly took the shot that killed Charlie Kirk. And it was searched 3 times, a couple of 3 months before the Charlie Kirk assassination. And so I keep on pressing.
I'll tell you what, Miss Susan, you've got to realize, for one, a lot of it is just straight up hubris. Like, they really think they're above the law. They feel like, they're not worried about us. That's one part of it. The other part is, sit back and look at Congress. I'm not sure officially what the average age is, but I'm guessing the average age in Congress is well up in the 80s. I mean, you've got several that are up in their 90s. It's probably late 70s, early 80s. These people, a lot of them, I feel like they're still stuck back in the Stone Age, and they just can't help themselves, and don't consider just how easy it's going to be for people to find out. And, even with this whole technology boom that we've had, and, I mean, the internet's been out there for a while. Yes, it's getting crazier and crazier every day, but, the information has been accessible for a while. But there were not near as many people that were awake as are right now. People are wising up, and, the public interest, especially, we're getting tired of this shit. I mean, like, you think about all the over the years, all the different political assassinations we've had, JFK, RFK, MLK, attempt at Reagan, you know, on and on and on. And I've made this point before, and every single one, it was a lone wolf. It was just one crazy person that decided, to, and used to, we just had to accept that, and they're used to us having to accept that, and yeah, we've all collectively decided we ain't doing it no more.
Probably the most mysterious figure in this entire shooting is the roommate, Lance Twiggs. If he's innocent, I feel worse for him than anyone else in this thing, because so many people have heard the name and associated it with his idiosyncrasies.
That's right, Lissett. Don't believe your lying eyes.
Wanting to be a woman, or allegedly, I don't even know if that's true. Baby being a furry, I don't even know. I got to tell you about this is an aside on a very serious conversation. I'm going to do a quick aside. I had a job. This was probably.
I'm going to tell you all right now, they're going to try really hard to get Tyler Robinson to take a plea, because I think they know that if it goes to trial, they're in trouble. And I'm going to tell you right now, if this thing goes to trial and he ends up getting a guilty verdict, I mean, unless there's something that they've got that just absolutely blows my mind and changes my whole outlook on this, if he gets a guilty verdict, it is going to be I'm going to be very confident that that this was 100% orchestrated, and that he was just, well, all the things we know are true anyway. It was orchestrated. He is a patsy, but that'll be the nail in the coffin. That'll be the 100% proof to me, is if it goes to trial and he still gets a guilty verdict, stick a fork in it. It's done. Everybody knows. I mean, there won't be any convincing me any different. So, but I feel like they are going to try really hard to get him to take a plea, because I don't think there's any way. I don't think there's any way he can go to trial and a jury convict him on it. I mean, I don't see how they can make a case without any reasonable doubt. The only way I see it, them going to trial and getting a guilty verdict, is if they literally have a whole jury of TPUSA employees.
Oh God.
Dear Diana, get him to take a plea deal. If he's pleading not guilty, then of course his attorneys will argue back and forth, and it'll end up going to trial where they both present their evidence, and then a jury is going to decide, is he guilty or not guilty. If he takes a plea deal, that will mean that he will go ahead and plead guilty instead of not guilty. And generally, what it is the prosecution will make him some type of deal. So they will say, okay, well, if you plead to this lesser charge, you won't get the death penalty, or you won't get life in prison. And so, but that's a good way for them to make this go away. They don't want it to go to trial because, for one, I don't think a jury can convict him. I don't think the evidence is there to prove without a shadow of a doubt. And also, especially if the cameras are in the room like they should be, it's going to be on for the world to see, and the world. I mean, we already got a pretty good idea what's up there, but everybody will know for sure just how much of a shit show circus this is. So I feel like they are going to push him to plead to some lesser charge. They're going to make him a deal, and he'll end up going to jail for the next 20 years or whatever, 25, whatever, a long time, and no parole, and he'll be there, and he won't get to talk to anybody, and they'll try to shut him up that way. More than likely, though, he'll get suicided in there. Now, that's the other thing. If they can't get him to take a plea deal, I mean, I'm afraid that's what's going to happen to him, is he's going to get Einsteined in there. But that's just hey, allegedly.
This would have been 2011 or 12. It was a criminal case I was working on, and it was in Kansas. But
Yes, exactly. So instead of pleading guilty, or I'm sorry, instead of being convicted, found guilty by a jury for, say, first degree murder, then the DA would come to him and say, hey, instead of taking this to trial, and you've got a, 50-50 chance you might get guilty, you might get a not guilty. If you'll just go ahead and plead to, say, second degree murder instead of first degree murder, we'll take the death penalty off the table. We'll give you, 20 years, and it's a done deal. You don't have to go through all that. You don't have to worry about, am I going to get a guilty or a not guilty verdict. So, and a lot of times people take them, and for good reason, especially if they're concerned about getting a guilty conviction. Again, though, I'm scared that if he doesn't take a plea, or even if he does play, I think if he doesn't take the plea, there's a good chance he'll get Einstein before it goes to trial. And then even if he does take the plea deal, I'd say sometime in the next future, or, in the next near future, he'll still get Einstein. Could be wrong. I hope not. But I just got a feeling they do not want that kid talking to anybody.
one of the lawyers was in Southern California. And so we all meet at his office to prepare for trial. And we're bringing in our trial notebooks and we're going over our examinations. And I fly into
Look, I could tell. I watched it when he found out, when Jesse found out that what had happened, and he saw it live. Oh, you're welcome, Miss Diana. But I watched Jesse's reaction, and I believe that it really did upset him. And I don't think it's anything nefarious with Jesse. I think that he thinks that's the case. But I feel like, whether he realizes or not, deep down inside, it's a cope. Like, it's the most terrible thing that he ever witnessed, and it just, that's his way of coping with it. My issue with it is to hold that belief. Then that means you have to automatically exonerate Erica and all the TPUSA people. And I just, that to me, that's not a good way of, looking at it. Even if you wonder in the back of your mind, could he be alive? I feel like everybody needs to be looked at. But if everybody just accepted the fact that he was alive and faked his death, then that means everything goes back to normal. Everybody, accepts Erica and Turning Point USA. If they were involved, then all of a sudden they're, no problems. Back to life as normal. They start getting all the tax dollars. They get to fund the stuff like Show Faith by Works and all these, geofencing. As it stands right now, they're fixing to crash and burn, and I hate that because I know how much Charlie put into it and how much he loved it. But they're on their way out, and but for if people were to really embrace and accept Jesse's theory, then all of a sudden they're back in good graces and they committed the perfect crime. Allegedly, if they did commit a crime. Allegedly.
LAX, I think is where I was. And it might have been John Wayne. I don't remember which airport I flew into, but we drove straight to the.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, there would be no way to get out of it 100% without having some kind of legal issues. But but yeah, I think insurance fraud is probably the least of their worries.
Guy's office. He was in the Orange County area somewhere. And I get checked. We go straight to his office. We do all this trial prep till late at night, and it gets late. I'm like, hey, I gotta go check into my hotel room. And I walk into my hotel room, and I assume it's some.
One more thing, look, he makes a good argument for it, why and how and all that. But has anybody ever, have any of y'all ever tried to just free fall without catching yourself, and just that alone? I don't care how good of an actor you are, how many times you practice. I mean, he is the world's best actor if that's the case. But when he fell over and then Dan Flood grabbed him, and went down to the ground with him, but like he never at all attempted to catch himself, slow himself down, like and that look on his. I mean, I just yeah, oh, I don't see. He's one hell of an actor if he's
sort of
still
like
around.
into the lobby, into the bar area. And I assume it's some sort of like college mascot convention. All these people sitting at the bar. And then I think, wait a minute. Do college mascots wear their uniforms outside of a competition or a game? Like, do they wear them to the bar at night? And there's hundreds
Damn, Miss Susan, that's breaking news. I'll have to check into that here in a little bit.
of them. And I start looking closer. I'm like, these are not college mascots. These are weird suits. They were
No, there's no way. There's no way Charlie agreed to something like that. No way. I feel like he either didn't know who she was and then found out there at the end and was attempting to, go the other way. And that was not acceptable. Or the other part of that is he didn't, or he did know who she was. And again, I feel like you end up with the same result. Why would he, if he did know who she was, why would he put her under the microscope like that, knowing that there's a good chance a lot of that would fall back on him and be a part of his legacy. That wouldn't be good either. That's why I say I just don't believe it. I don't think Charlie would ever think that was a good plan. I just don't.
unicorns. There were elephants. There were whales, wolves, lions, big manes. This is not a college mascot convention. So this was before I quit drinking. I do what any sane, rational human being would do when showing up to the airport before checking in. I go straight to the bar and get a double Hendrix on the rocks. I'm sitting there drinking my double Hendrix on the rocks, and I think I might have even had a few blue cheese stuffed olives. One of the finest drinks ever made. And I'm sitting there drinking. I don't drink.
Imagine what kind of a shitty human being. I mean, imagine what kind of a shitty human being it would take to put somebody like Candace Owen, your absolute best friend that was obviously super loyal. I mean, loyal to the end. Why would you put her through that? And not just her, but the parents and God, his following. I mean, look how many people are upset, and look how much how much public interest there's been in it. People are pissed and brokenhearted. It would, like, I just can't even imagine. I mean, way worse than a shitty human being, like the worst scum, to put everybody, the public, through that, and your parents and your closest, dearest friends.
Anymore, so I can say all this now. I was sitting there drinking my drink, and I just had to ask the guy in the furry costume next to me, what the hell's going on in here? What are you doing? Why are you wearing a college mascot suit? And he said, it's a furry convention. I said, what the is a furry?
There you go, Miss Susan. You tell him. Hit that like. I think I seen 9 watching. I should have 9 likes. Come on now.
Never heard of such. I get the whole rundown on furry culture. It's not sexual, I'm assured. Whether or not it is, I don't know. I was assured it was not. What a weird evening that was. I had to get drunk with a bunch of weirdos. And to be fair, they weren't that weird when you got to talk. I had to talk to somebody 3,000 miles from home. Anyway, I digress. So I feel worse for Lance Twiggs out of this whole story. Everyone knows his name. Everyone knows he is allegedly either seeking to be a woman or dresses up like college mascots or something in some sort of weird sexual twink thing. I don't know. But I think surely not. I'm doing all these other searches. I'm searching his name. Remember, it showed up in Washington, D.C.? Lance Twiggs did last week.
Yeah, Miss Rainin. I mean, they finally got the message. Every single time you talk, we tank. Like every time you go out there and speak, you literally light a bunch of fires that we can't put out. I mean, if she could literally tell one story and not lie, Just one, even no matter how mundane or stupid a little story it is, if she could just tell one little story that was 100% true, God, that would put them so much further ahead. But she can't tell the truth about anything. Like, she lies about the dumbest shit.
I think that's on the tape. You can go look at it. Let me try it overseas. Let me just see. I just got to know.
And besides that, watching her speak makes my freaking hair stand up.
So I go back and look. And keep in mind, I'd just been confronted with the fact that the address for the drop point of the gun was searched with an IP address originating in this area and this country, greatest ally. A couple of months before, the Losi Center was searched a couple of months before.
Y'all just remember that. I joke and I say our greatest ally. Just remember that. No matter what anybody says, they are technically not even an ally. We have defense defense agreements and treaties with all these countries that are our allies. We have none of that with them. They are not an ally. And of course, there's no mutual there's no mutual anything. It's a one-way street. So just always remember that when they say something about them being our ally, that they are absolutely in no way our ally.
So I hold my breath and think, surely not Lance Twiggs. Surely he wasn't searched over there a couple of months before. It's a name that's so rare, most people assumed it was made up. It's not, I don't think. His dad's last name is Twiggs. His mom's last name is Twiggs. But I had to know. So I do what anyone in my shoes would do.
Look it up.
And I search Lance Twiggs overseas. And I get a hit. June of 2025, excuse me. Just a month before the Losi Center searches were, just a month before the address where the gun drop point would be, I get a hit on Lance Twiggs. You can see this giant spike here. That's when his name was first made public. I also noticed this one way back here. Back in 2021. If you do the math on that, he would be like 18 years older.
And I don't remember if I mentioned this last night, but so most of these familiar names, people and places that were involved in this whole case, most of them had quite a bit of interest leading right up to the event. Most of them were in, July, August. But if you'll notice, Lance Twiggs was back in, what did he just say, 2022. So my idea, my theory on that is that, and again, I'll mention the all the dispatch recordings and stuff that came out, and you had the description, and it was not just one. It was not just one person giving that description, but it was a few. But the description was that there was a slender figure dressed all in black with shoulder-length hair. That does not describe Tyler Robinson. It does, in fact, describe Lance Twiggs. So I have a feeling the reason the interest further back is they probably were snooping around in his Discord, trying to find something that they could use. And I'm guessing, because I know what all goes on in Discord, or I've got a pretty good idea, I've heard, they probably found something to use to hold over his head. And yeah, I believe that's why the interest further back with him. And at the end of the day, even if him and Tyler were actually as close as what they were, and it actually ends up being that it was Tyler on the roof, which I don't believe, but if it did end up being Tyler on the roof, that theory still would hold true, could hold true. They found something over that they could hold over Lance Twiggs' head and then use it to blackmail or to pressure Tyler into doing what they wanted. But I believe that's why the early interest in him, they were trying to find some way to leverage him.
Something like that back then. 17 years old, maybe. And at this point, my jaw is on the floor. I don't know what to make of this. Again, my old adage that I've lived by my entire life: once is a random occurrence, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. I don't know what 10 times is. I don't know what 10 times is. I've screen recorded me doing all these searches. I've downloaded all the data. So, and I'll mention why I did that right now. When I did the show last week, I ran those searches a dozen times, over and over.
See, Diana, if nothing else, that one thing right there, it made it worth it, you showing up in here. Not to mention, the good time in the chat and all that. But if you don't get anything else from it, by God, at least that you got that right there. And I feel like that's a very important thing. And people have kind of forgot about Lance Twiggs because he's been, for the most part, out of the news. And I feel like that's intentional. I don't believe that he has just gone away because, I feel like that. I feel like that's the idea, and I feel like there's way more there than what the general public knows, realizes. Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like there's really something to Lance Twiggs, and I plan on looking into Lance a whole lot more because I think there's something there, especially after all um, those dispatch recordings came out
over and over. And they were there every single time.
Absolutely no Discord. And yes, I am married. I'm married and I can't even believe it. I'm working on a ball team. I got four kids. I've got a really, really good spread. I've got a 15-year-old. I got a 10-year-old. I've got a 2.5-year-old, and I've got a 6-month-old. So, but no more, I guess. No more.
I did the show that night, and I was able to recreate those searches later on that evening. A day or two later, I get a call from a friend of mine and says, "Have you done any of those searches? I'm unable to replicate them." What? Why? So I jump on my computer and I start doing the searches, and I limit the dates the same way. I use the same country. I use the same District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. area, Huntsville. I cannot replicate some of the searches. Most of the searches are no longer showing up. Keep in mind, they showed up 8 or 10 times the day I did the search. Keep in mind, they showed up the evening after I did the show. Keep in mind, they showed up, I think, early the next morning. But then they stopped showing up. If you go back and look, there's not enough data. They're wiped. The only
let's see, where did Lance go, Miss Diana? Yes, so by all appearances, he went to Texas, and we would not know that except that I cannot remember what shitty news organization it was, but one of the shitty news organizations got some pictures of him and wrote a couple articles about it, that he was spotted in Texas. And I don't have that in front of me right now, but if you show up here tomorrow, I'll try to be prepared, and I can show you those articles and those pictures of Lance. Um, you know, again, the dispatch recording, we're talking about how the suspect had shoulder length hair. Well, the only picture we had seen of Lance was him wearing that stupid ass bear hoodie thing, the furry hoodie. And so you couldn't really tell much of anything. And you could tell he's very old. He was so young in that picture. But these pictures that were these more recent pictures, I mean, he's dressed in normal clothes. And guess what? He's got just over shoulder length hair. So, yeah. I'll try to be prepared to show them tomorrow.
conclusion I could draw is they were wiped. And I asked myself, who would have the power to have those searches wiped? If it's some rando doing these searches, does that rando call Google?
Yes, Miss Susan, I am busy, and thank you, Brett. Hey, you know what? That's one thing Charlie always talked about how all the reproductive rates are on the decline, and this, that, and the other, and we've got to do something about it. I have done my part. So if we're still in the negative, we're still in the rears, don't look at me. I did my part. Love every one of them. Wouldn't take a penny for, or wouldn't take nothing for them. They are awesome.
Say, hey,
best thing I ever did. All four of them.
A few months ago, I did a search. You think you could pull that out of your database? Pretty please, with a cherry on top? Probably not. Probably not.
Miss Ryan, I don't remember for sure. I feel like that article did mention where in Texas. I will try my best to pull all that and have that ready to go tomorrow. Okay, if I'd have thought about it, it would have made sense for me to had it tonight. And I apologize, but I will get that together. That way tomorrow when we hit the next episode, I can show all that.
But either way, I mention that now because these searches are valid. I've rechecked them and double checked them and screen recorded myself grabbing them. I've downloaded the data. I've screen capped the results. If they come down, that's pretty damning. If I run a search 8 times before I go public with it, and it comes up every single time that way, and then I do a show on it, and then the next time I go to search it, it's not there, that's weird. That's weird.
I hear you, Miss Rainin. I'll find out for you so you can make sure and avoid those areas.
So for right now, all this stuff is here. Lance Twiggs, somebody with an IP address originating in Israel 3 months before the shooting.
Oh, damn, we're Texas heavy in the chat, huh? All right, that's good. God bless Texas. And you got 4 kids there too? Wow. Let's see, you're doing your part. That's great. That's great. That's awesome.
And you might think at this point, surely you're done. Surely you're done. Almost. Because when I find it in Israel, I think, well, is it also in DC? Well, would you look at that?
Oh, Lord. Say it ain't so.
This is a month and a half before the shooting. This is the District of Columbia. Past 90 days. Here's the shooting. Everybody's heard of Lance Twiggs by now. Here's before the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Keep in mind, these dates are all June or July that I'm showing you. The search for the address, Tyler James Robinson, Lance Twiggs, West 925 South Street. These are all June and July. You would think if it's a random occurrence.
I mean, did you hear that address? That is not a standard run. That's not a 123 Smith Avenue or a whatever. That is not a super common address. Like, what are the chances? What are the chances of that address being searched in DC, in Huntsville, Alabama, and in the land of our greatest ally, all within that time frame leading up to September the 10th? I'm sorry, you can't convince me there's nothing to that.
Or it's not related, or it's some random person with a, trying to find, their friends.
One demon. Oh, that ain't very nice, Miss Susan. Hey, you know what? Everybody ain't got to have 4 or 5 or 6. That's just, it's not in the cards for everybody. Just, I'm proud of every single person that has even one kid. Like, they're still doing their part.
Dinner party and someone's trying to find Lance Twiggs.
And I'm sure that baby wasn't at all spoiled, was it, Miss Susan?
It's just because they met him at the bar and or met him at a furry convention and they want to look. You would think it would be spread out over different dates. You wouldn't think it would all be this June, July, August, right before the shooting, right? You would think.
Miss Rainin, I've got 3 boys and I've got 1 little girl. And let me tell you, if we had the 2 boys and me and the wife had done decided, look, I don't think a little girl's in the cards, which, we were fine with whatever. By the time we had 2 boys, though, we were already thinking, well, if it's another boy, it's just probably not in the cards to have a little girl. And that's probably best anyway, because we got clothes that we can pass down. And, we've had 2 boys. We're going to have to relearn everything to have a little girl. And by God, some bitch, a little girl. And I tell you what, I love all 4 of them to death. And like I said, wouldn't take anything for any of them, but something about that little girl, I do not know what it is. She's the one that's 2.5, but good God, she seems to have me wrapped like, ugh, it's crazy.
And just in case, I hadn't covered this one yet. I thought I did, but just in case. This was the guy who allegedly took a shot at Donald Trump. That was the date there, July of 2024. This is a search in Israel. And there he shows up, Thomas Matthew Crow.
And she has 2 big brothers that absolutely love her to death.
6 months before. Now, here's what I would do with this information. There are very few people who could use this information and do anything with it.
How bitchy we are. Hey, there's the comment of the night right there.
But I hope this information finds its way to Talking Points USA, and here's why. The first date that Utah Valley University announced that Charlie Kirk would be appearing at Utah Valley University was September 1st of this year, 9 days before he showed up. The first date Charlie Kirk announced it was when he put it on his website, I think 2 or 3 days prior, like late August 27, 28, somewhere in there. prior to that, nobody on earth outside of those planning the event knew where he would be and when. And if you're planning an event, and I've been involved in big political events that have been planned, there's several steps that take place. One is you have to decide you want to do an event. That's an internal discussion. That's you and your team. I'm going to take it out of the realm of Charlie Kirk and just say, I have a national organization and I want to do an event. I want to do a college tour. And I sit down and I say, where do we want to be? Right? Do we want to be on the West Coast? Want to be on the East Coast? And I start looking. And then I say, well, I have chapters in all these schools, and this is a particularly active chapter. Why don't we think of an event there?
Oh, Lordy.
At Utah Valley University. Now, this conversation is going to have taken place long before August 28th when I first announced it on my website. Long before.
And this is something Gary Melton has, God, argued and argued and argued and argued. Everybody has basically said that it was last minute when they popped up and told, actually put out the official word of when and exactly where and all the details. And he debunks it. No, and I can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but he always goes back. And the post that he's talking about that he always brings up, and I don't know if he's just goofy or if he's being dishonest, but, it could be a little of both. And if you go back and look at that post, if you notice, what it says is, yes, that he will be at Utah Valley University, but it also says that he will be in it. I believe it just says Utah Valley Courtyard, generic. And now, if I hadn't needed to know it right off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of that courtyard where he ended up, but at that campus there are multiple courtyards. So he's wrong. In fact, it was literally like a week before or something. It was a very, very short time before when they actually came out and said that he was going to be at the whatever the name of that courtyard is. So, like I said, they have several courtyards there. They did say that he was going to be at UVU. They did say that he was going to be outdoors in a courtyard, but it was a generic courtyard. They did not put the name of the courtyard on there, and that didn't come out till right before the event.
Because what kind of things do I have to line up? Well, one,
yes, Miss Rain, he's an ass, a horse's ass.
I have to line up that the university will host me. That takes time. I have to contact the chapter. Hey, chapter, I'd like to do an event at your school. Do you think you could host me? What do I need to do to get approved to be at Utah Valley University sometime in the fall? And they'll come back and they'll say, oh, we got to get a permit. We got to get maybe a staff sponsor. We got to line up security. We got to do all these things. And either they or the Kirk team would say, or my team, if I'm doing the event, would say, okay, well, these are the dates I have available. Go back and see what dates you would be able to do it. And can you get the approvals? Let me know. That takes time. That's not something that's done in an hour. And they come back with a list of dates, or I give them a list.
Miss Diana, I have not done that yet, but I tell you what, I've seen, I keep seeing stuff that she's done. It started out with the Twitter or X post, and then all of a sudden she popped up on Gary's channel, and then she popped up on Jay Witt's channel, and she's been doing a lot of appearances. And I'm just going to tell you, yeah, I'm going to end up doing that because that is one dishonest person. She cannot be that confused. She just blatantly lies allegedly about the whole situation and to make Erica look good. Like some of the arguments that she used were just beyond ridiculous. So yes, I'll probably be doing that in the very near future. I'd already thought about that because, like I said, she's making more and more appearances, and yeah, we need to put her on blast. On blast.
Dates, and we look and we say, okay, I want to kick this tour off sometime in September. We're going to go through November, and then we'll figure out what we'll do over the holidays, and we'll figure out what we're going to do next spring. But when we do this,
oh, Miss Diana, I almost guarantee it.
First leg of the tour, we're going to do it September through November. And you get dates. They say we're available this date, this date, this date. And so you finalize the schedule. You're not just doing this with Utah Valley University. You're doing this with lots of other schools. There were like 10 or 20 schools on this tour he's doing in the fall. And so you're
I don't know if y'all have seen any of the clips of the girl, but this was this was a in response to all the we'll call it the brooming allegedly that Erica was doing with that girl on Twitter, and all the inappropriate messages and stuff I think the girl was 15. Anyway, after all that stuff started coming out, this girl came out to, debunk all that. And her account name is Lisa Knows. You can search her, you can find her if you want to find out for yourself. But I do plan on covering her. But yeah, she's not super bright. I'm just saying. I hate to say that about people, but yeah, she's not just super duper bright.
Contacting the schools, you're contacting your chapters, you're working with your teams, working with their university staff.
Oh yes, Diana. Yes, I forgot about that. I was sitting here trying to think of who that was. Yeah, Zach Costello. He's a better man than I am. Is all I can say. Yes, she was just. I'm telling you, she was just a rotten, nasty. I mean, and I'm not even talking about physically or any of that. I just mean she was really ugly to him. She came with a chip on her shoulder, with an attitude, and she was there for a fight. I could tell it right from the get-go.
And administration, and you're getting everything settled. This stuff is taking place months in advance. This is not days or weeks in advance. This is months in advance. Internally, I have to line up my
Yes, Miss Raining on X.
transportation. I have to figure out who on
All right, Miss Susan. I promise you, we'll have a look-see at that, okay?
my team is going to travel with me. I have to line up my 24/7 security because I'm a big wig. I'm well known.
And hey, you know what? Obviously, I've got ideas of things to cover and all that, but look, I am open to suggestions. I mean, I make it easier on me. In fact, y'all have anything in particular that y'all want me to cover, or that you've seen but didn't really catch in detail or what have you? I mean, anytime, throw it in the chat, and I will be perfectly happy to pull it and go over it. That'll make it easier on me. I put less thought into what I'm going to cover the next show.
Oh, and I run an operation that makes tens of millions of dollars a year. I am hated by many on the left. I potentially am a target for assassination.
And yes, she did blame the 15-year-old.
And I got to make sure I'm safe. So I got to line up a security team. I'm told he traveled with the same team or a similar team.
I mean, really blamed her, like in detail, like talked about. Yes, she blamed the 15-year-old girl.
Pretty much every time. So
no two ways about it.
They would be briefed. That we would make sure they had availability on those dates. Internally, my administration.
Yeah, Miss Raining, he had it listed on there as a debate, I believe. But yes, it was him and Lisa Knows, and yeah, it was a it was a cluster.
Of my organization would have to make sure we're available. We'd have to work with the school to make sure they're available. These things take months. So if I'm Talking Points USA and I look at the dates of some of these searches, I have to ask myself, was this a problem at Utah Valley University? Or was this a problem at Talking Points USA? Or was this just a coincidence and these searches don't actually mean anything? One of those.
Oh, it's a coincidence. No doubt about it. We know that.
Three things is true.
Bullshit. No coincidences.
If you think the searches, there's too many of them to be a coincidence, you eliminate that one. And now you've got to ask yourself, is this a Talking Points USA weakness? Or is this a Utah Valley University weakness? Again, assuming searches are not coincidental. Assuming that if Israel and DC are.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Susan. I mean, I don't know how far back you went. I don't know if you've seen some of the first ones, but I'm not gonna kid myself or try to anybody else. The first ones were I know I was really, really stiff. I was a little nervous for whatever reason, because I'm really good at shooting the shit. But for some reason, the first few times of sitting in front of that camera behind the microphone, it just, I don't know, it does something to the nerves. But I'm definitely way more comfortable, and I'm having a lot of fun, especially with y'all regulars in the chat. It's awesome. I love it. And hey, it's all just going to get better from here.
Are searching the addresses and the names and the locations of my event 2 months later, 3 months later. That means somebody internally or somebody at Utah Valley University communicated.
I did not. That's pretty interesting too, and I'm going to start taking screenshots of the chat now.
With people in another country and in a city that happens to be the capital of the United States. A district, I guess it's not even a city. City's a municipal corporation. District is set up by law, federal law. So if I'm Talking Points USA, I have some real questions at this point. If I'm the Federal Bureau of Investigation, if I'm Kash Patel, I have some real questions as I sit here right now if I happen to come across this video and if I happen to be aware of these searches, whether or not he watched this video. And you can extend this back to the presidential assassination attempt in July of 2024, because look whose name shows up. And I tend to agree with my buddy Dan here. Searching for someone by their full name is intentional rather than coincidental. I tend to agree. But that doesn't mean it's true. That just means I agree. It's an opinion. But I go back to what I said in my little opening spiel. It could all be the biggest coincidence in the history of mankind. It could all mean absolutely nothing. But if I'm Kash Patel, I want to get to the bottom of it. If I'm Talking Points USA, I want to get to the bottom of it. Frankly,
I don't know what it is about that cross-eyed fucker, but he don't seem to really want to get to the bottom of it. That's for damn sure.
if I'm the prime minister
Very disappointed is an understatement.
of this country where these searches keep originating, I want to get to the bottom of it. I want to know why people in my country are searching those terms. Exactly 2 months in many.
Unless he already knows. Unless there's no bottom to get to. He may already know. He may have firsthand knowledge. May have been him that was doing those searches. Who knows? But, you know, that kind of assumes that he doesn't know about it, and he may very well not. But, again, he may.
Occasions. And I think if I'm Talking Points USA, the question I want to ask is, when did we plan this Utah Valley University trip, and who was aware of it? Because
yeah, we'll have a look at that, Miss Diana. You know, I had honestly, that thought had crossed my mind. I need to start writing some of these down when I think of them, because a lot of times I think of it and then I'll forget about it and something else will come up. But I would like to look at that. And not only that, I know y'all surely have heard about all the strange coincidences in that movie. Oh God. It was just right on the tip of my tongue. Snake Eyes. That's some weird shit. So we might have to take a look at that too. Like it's just so weird. Charlie Kirk, dies. You got Charles Kirkland in there that dies, and Tyler the executioner, and oh God, it goes on and on and on. There's so many. It's really weird, freaky.
if the overseas searches are related, and I don't know that they are, I'm not alleging they are, but if they are, one of two things is true. Either a rogue element within that group was very curious about what was going on in this event.
I have, and he doesn't have a very big, he doesn't have a very large portfolio, I guess you could say. But good God Almighty, that video is freaky.
Or it was official government policy. I tend to not believe that part. I will exonerate the good prime minister on that one. But I would want to get to the bottom of it in a very public way when I found out what happened. Because I think there's enough here to go on. And I will add this. If you think this is all I have, this is not all I have.
Well, Miss Ryan, we'll try to look at that one day. We will look at that one night. I can at least pull some clips from it. And yeah, it's really weird. And yeah, Mr. Charles Kirkland gets shot in the neck, and believe it or not, it is the left side of his neck. So it's just too weird.
I have much more that I have shared with a few select other people that I trust. I'd be happy to share it with the right people.
And you know what, Mr. Ryan, there may not be anything to it. It may just be weird. And, like I said, maybe it's just weird. There's a good chance that that's all it is. But it would still be, if nothing else, it'd be interesting to pull all those coincidences, I guess you could say, all those things out and break all those down, show everybody. But you never know. I'm learning more and more every day that certain things that you would never think were planned or planned. I believe in predictive programming, and all that, plus the whole spiritual side of things. So who knows? We'll have a look at it, see if we can come to some kind of maybe tentative conclusion anyway.
But I would have a very hard time believing this is a coincidence. And if it's not a coincidence,
we'll make a fun night of it anyway.
There are either rogue elements in one or more countries that conspired to do this, or
for sure,
it is the official policy of one or more state governments that this deed was done. If
Hollywood and MSM, mainstream media,
it wasn't a coincidence. If the searches were not a coincidence, I will say it again because I think you have.
And they are not a coincidence. Those searches are not a coincidence. I can say it. You'll see this? You know what this is, right? I'm telling you right now, I firmly believe they are not coincidences.
To say things 7 to 10 times for people to understand it. We're going to do a decision tree. Option 1, all these searches we talked about today were total coincidence. Every one of them was a total coincidence.
Okay.
Can completely be explained away by happenstance.
Yeah.
That's an option. That's option 1. If so, and you do a little research and you can drill down which IP addresses were doing these searches, Google has that information. I don't. I only know that what country they came from. Google can tell you who specifically did the searches. I know that for a fact. I've subpoenaed Google on IP addresses in different cases.
We'll not be getting that.
I know they can do it. Kash Patel could get this information from Google in a day. One day.
Maybe he knows.
I challenge him to do that. He could get a search warrant tonight. Any judge that watched this data would say, here's your search warrant. He could find out the actual IP addresses from where these searches came.
Yeah, me too, Ms. Raining.
And if they go back to a VPN located in Tel Aviv, then there's your answer. Somebody used a VPN. They were either framing Israel or they just happened to select Israel. Maybe they just happened to be assigned it.
That seems like a likely excuse. Oh, they just framing us, because of anti-Semitism.
Israel is a VPN. Maybe then you go to the VPN and say, who was using your service at this time? Because this is problematic and we need to get to the bottom of it. This was a worldwide, this was an international story that had heads of state contacting the family. This is a big deal, a big blanking deal, to quote Joe Biden. Option 1 is they do the investigation and they determine it was completely coincidental and everyone is cleared. I'm fine with that result. I actually prefer that result. I don't want to live in a world where option 2 is on the table. I don't want to live in a world where the next thing I'm about to discuss is even a consideration, much less happened. But that's option 1, total coincidence. Hey, Kash, tell me, was this a coincidence? I need to know. The security of the world, frankly, the world depends on it. That's option 1, total coincidence. Only one man in this country can tell us the answer to that, and that's Kash Patel. Option 2, this is not a coincidence. Option 2 is this is not a coincidence. And these Google searches were part of a scheme to assassinate a beloved political figure, a 31-year-old father of 2, who has 2 little children who will grow up and never have seen his face and remember it. Never have been hugged by him and remember it. Never have been read a bedtime story and remember it.
Yep.
They're too young. That's option 2. That this was planned, coordinated, executed by one or more state actors. That's option 2. I cannot come up with an option 3.
I was going to say, I don't think there is an option 3.
If option 2 is correct, the same man, Kash Patel, can get to the bottom of it. Dan Bongino can get to the bottom of it.
Or Joe Kent, and, according to reports, he tried, but then was blocked at every single, Oh, that pisses me off. I don't know if y'all remember hearing about that, but Joe Kent, he's I forget exactly what that division's called, but he's the head of the counterterrorism, division of, anyway. He was trying to get some information from the FBI because he was going to look into some of the possible foreign aspects and was just absolutely shut down on that.
Want to. Or they can treat it like the Epstein file and frankly bullshit us and tell us it doesn't exist. That's option 2. Option 1, total coincidence. Great. Clear everyone's name. Because there's no easier way to put the Israel conspiracy theory to bed than to show us that these searches were totally coincidental and no one
I think so, Ms. Raining,
employed or elected in the state of Israel would have anything to do with this. And we can tell you it's Jimmy Smith over in Iowa, and he's got an IP address, and he was searching at some guy he met at a furry convention. And then, Sue Sanders over in Utah was trying to find her way to a dinner party at 683 West 925 South Street. And she just happened to also be using a VPN that routed through Tel Aviv. And I mean, God, please tell me that's true. I don't want to live in a world where it's not true, Kash. Dan. I don't want to live in a world where that's not true. I don't want the world to be a place where that's not true.
Yeah, the furry convention. Yeah, that is pretty funny. All right. Well, I tell you what, I love listening to Baron, and I could go all the way to the very end, but I think we're past all the really important stuff. So I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like this is I feel like this is really important. I feel like that it's not some crazy crackpot idea. I feel like there's definitely something there. I know a lot of people have poo-pooed it, but it's all the same old people. They poo-poo everything other than their official Fed slop narrative. Um, and you know his feelings about the words of caution that he got over bringing this up. That's a scary thing, and that's a sad fact. Um, that literally, and you're warned by others that if you criticize this one particular nation state, specifically our greatest ally, there's a chance that you could wake up dead. And that is just unacceptable to me. Now, can I personally do anything about that? I mean, I guess all of us screaming at the top of our lungs is doing our part, and maybe hopefully one of these days it's going to happen. We're not going to be tangled up with them forever. The public, you've got a different generation of people, and like Gen Z, and I mean, they're done with it. They're over it. They don't give a shit. So I don't care what they do. Our relationship a few years from now is going to look totally different than it does now. But yes, that's just a sad fact. That's a scary thought. It's pitiful to think that if you um, criticize our greatest ally, that you could possibly end up in the same shape Charlie ended up in. Because at the end of the day, allegedly, but I feel like that's what got him what he got, was him criticizing him, and as as in his words, was could no longer support the Philadelphian cause. So, um, but yeah, very interesting. I absolutely love this stuff. These episodes here are the ones that got me hooked on Baron. Um, so I'm glad we're revisiting them. I obviously I kind of knew the gist. I could remember a little bit of it, but it's nice just to get a refresher, if nothing else, and hopefully some of my 2 cents worth and bullshitting in between maybe clarifies some stuff for somebody, and um, you know that's what it's all about. Um, yes, it is, Mr. Brad. It absolutely is. It is unbelievable. And the bad part about it is what's even more unbelievable than that is the fact that they can try to sit there and look us all in the face and tell us no, it's not. Call us crazy. Um, it is absolutely insane. As I said before, I feel like if you got a citizenship 2 places, you can't serve 2 masters. You know, you can't be in government. That's the way I feel about it. And if I had my say, that's the way it would be. If you got 2 citizenships, yeah, live here, do your thing, but you ain't gonna be in government, no positions of authority. So that's my 2 cents worth. Um, let's see. Well, I tell you what, I'm Miss Susan. I'm glad to do it, and I am glad that y'all. I'm glad that y'all come out and hung out with me. It's great. I tell you what, like I said, y'all regulars, y'all make this worth it. Um, I absolutely love this. This is a lot of fun, and yeah, y'all tell all your friends, tell them to come over and hit the sub button, and then maybe we'll get a little bit bigger group in there in that chat to all hang out. So, all right, it is. Yes, thank you, Lizard. Um, it's almost midnight here, so I'll tell you what, I'm gonna hang it up because I do still have a regular job, and I am fixing to have to. I'm fixing to have to go lay down. Um, absolutely, you're welcome, Brett, Mr. Brett. And we will, if all goes according to plan, Lord willing, we'll be back here again tomorrow night and doing the next one. Um, I'm gonna eventually shoot for a little bit earlier, but I don't know. So just keep your eye out for it. Sometime between 9 and 10. Um, yes, I will definitely see y'all then. Yeah, good night, y'all. I had a ball. Hope y'all enjoyed it. And if you ain't hit that little like button, hit that like button. And yeah, we'll see y'all back here tomorrow. Thank y'all so much for showing up. We will. I will see y'all tomorrow night.